everybody. Welcome to the gathering room. It is us, Marty and Ro.
Here as usual on a Sunday night or a Monday morning, if you're in the Antipodes, where I'm going to be very soon.
Yeah. The antipodes.
Yes.
For those of us in the podes, we're more here. Why are we not in the middle? You have to move this way. There. That's good. Nobody's here yet, but maybe somebody is. We just don't know. Oh, we never know.
It's just a lag.
There they are. Donna, you made it in. Woo! Donna made it first on the list today.
Cindy coming in second, very close. And we have Diana. Welcome,
hello,
ladies.
Darlings. Anne and Jerry and Kathleen. So good to see you guys.
Jerry. Hi, Kathleen. Thank you guys for all coming along. Even though it's confusing because the clocks did change.
Clocks did change most horribly.
Oh,
it was horrible. This morning I got up and it was so dark. It was so dark. It was so late.
Dark. It was terrible. Hi, Pam.
Hello.
Hi, Christy. Oh, they've just got to the point where they've
Susan and Nicole and Florence.
Florence from Bucks County, just around the corner.
County, where it's dark and misty in a cool, mysterious New England witch kind of way. Yay. Hi, Christy from Arizona. Oh, yeah. There it's not dark and misty. I would wager.
Lisa. How you doing, love?
Rachel and Leah and Lisa and Tina and Debbie.
All these lovely peoples.
And more, Badger.
But I'm about to take off any second, so don't worry about the shot.
Not told there's 100. There's only 91 that we can see.
Oh, well.
Should I feature the badger hair?
The badger hair is taking a little hiatus.
The badger hair has gone incognito.
The badger is going undercover in Australia.
For Ro's trip to Australia, where she has to meet with her, who knows, possibly disapproving older friends. I have no idea.
No one can disapprove of the badger, surely.
No one.
But nevertheless.
Gracious badger. Gracious badger. People still, hi, Boston. Yes, it is cold up there, man.
See, Boston and Houston, you wouldn't think such a difference, and yet all the difference at this time of year.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Dubai. Oh, my goodness. Angela's coming in from Dubai.
Angela, beam us some more.
It is not cold there, I would wager again.
All right. I'm going to get out of here and let you do this amazing thing. Guys, last week, a lot of you said when Martha mentioned nonlinear time, we got a lot of nonlinear time, and we listened.
So let me tell you a tale of nonlinear time.
I go away now.
Okay. So here's what happened. When I was still a small child, I became very, very upset about the fact that everything passes away, which is, of course, life is suffering is the first noble truth of Buddhism. I think impermanence is the second. I don't know, but impermanence is big. I was so upset about it. I had a crush on a boy, and we were both very artsy and into poetry and whatnot. And he asked me once what was the thing that bothered me most in the world. And I said, transience, meaning the fact that everything passes away. But he thought I meant transience as in homeless people. And he was horrified and shocked. And we had this huge argument because he thought I was a more compassionate person than that. But transience, actually, I remember being very young, 2-3 years old, and thinking something good is happening, but it's going to be over. I was very attached, even as a tiny child. I would draw everything, draw, because otherwise I was trying to capture everything. Everything beautiful I saw, I would try to capture it by drawing it, and I was very tense. Nevertheless, everything continued to pass away, and I didn't have. Now, there's this. I really like this Buddhist teacher named Shinzen Young, who is I believe he was trained as a Japanese and a Chinese monk. He's been everywhere. But he's also a mathematics professor. He's a brilliant guy. And he talks about how science came from two different directions in the eastern part of the world and the western part of the world. So in Asia, they have what he calls the inner science, where you go inward and you observe very, very closely, as closely as any scientist ever observed anything in the West. You observe your own internal state. And by that, and by watching and watching and watching and watching and repeating and repeating and repeating experimentation and observation, you learn certain things about the world. In the West, what we did was go from, he calls it the outside science. So we looked at the things around us instead of the things within us. So we studied and studied and studied the things around us, but basically Aristotle was the first big dude who wrote shit down. Sorry. He wrote things down. Aristotle did write things down. That's all I ever said. This is live. Okay. I'll get over it. So he observed and observed, and then the people who came after him observed and observed, and then there was the Dark Ages where people didn't observe that much. They just beat each other on the head. And then the Enlightenment, and everybody observed and observed again. And gradually we got to modern physics. Well, this is where I landed when I was obsessed with everything passing away. And as a teenager, I was so verklempt about this that I was like, what point is there in anything? We're all just going to die. Everything is going away. And then I knew that there was something about time that did not feel right to me. And not just that I felt like emotional suffering that things pass away. It felt like it was an empirically wrong thing. Like this cannot be true. It felt like a bad dream where it absolutely could not be true. And when I was, I don't know, shortly after I broke up with my boyfriend because he thought I hated homeless people, I encountered Einstein's writings for lay people. And specifically, I read about his theories of relativity and the flexible nature of time. And I will tell you the very simple little analogy that he used to explain why time does not remain constant. It depends on how fast you're moving, and at the speed of light, time actually stops. So he'd been worrying and worrying about how, the space-time continuum and how it all works. And he was riding a trolley car away from the town square in Austria where he was living. And there's a clock in the town center, and he was moving away from the clock. So Einstein knows that the photons bouncing off the clock and going into his eyes, these little particles, literal particles of light, are the things that are carrying the information that says this is what time it is. And he realizes that as he's moving away, it takes a tiny bit longer for the photons to reach his eyes. And in fact, if the trolley car sped up to the speed of light, he would always see the same photon, right? They wouldn't be a stream coming at him. He'd be moving at the same speed they would be. And therefore, the clock would always remain stopped at the same time. So if you go a little deeper into this, what it turns out is that if somebody else was standing watching Einstein zipping away at the speed of light, that person could watch Einstein travel for like 50 years, and Einstein would be a very long distance away by then. But Einstein would not have aged one single moment, while the person watching him would have aged more because he wouldn't be traveling as fast. So they've tested this with atomic clocks. They put atomic clocks at the North Pole and at the equator. The one at the equator is spinning faster than the one at the North Pole. And sure enough, the atomic clock that's moving a little faster because it's at the equator gains time. So there are a lot of different ways that Einstein's relativity has been proven, and they will all blow your mind. The point is that time is actually malleable. We see it as something very stable and, it just marches on. But as soon as Einstein figured out what he figured out, we realized it actually depends. It depends. Time may not pass. And at the speed of light, it does not pass. Well, I'd already encountered from religious writings the concept, which is in almost every philosophy, that light, there's something divine about light. And that rang true for me. So if light is what we are in our essence, and light and God is light and all of that stuff, which for some reason rang very true for me, then for that which is divine, which is light, which is therefore traveling at the speed of light, there is no time. So you could zing all over the universe at the speed of light, and you could watch Earth and nothing would change. On the other hand, if you boing to a different place in the space-time continuum, you could see all of time laid out from there. So you could, from the perspective of eternity, which means outside time, not a long time, but outside time altogether, every moment is always present. So I thought to myself, well, if I'm conscious and it's my consciousness that's worried about everything, my consciousness knows that there is no time. My consciousness is eternal. But my meat self, my brain, and the monkey self that's experiencing this world sees time as this linear process. And there's a conflict between what my consciousness deeply feels and what seems very true based on what this meat self observes. So that was coming at it from the outside science. Then, much later in my life, I started to meditate. And if you meditate long enough, what happens, there's something that in some traditions, some shamanic traditions, they call it stopping the world. And it's a place where your mind steps out of its ability to track time. And it's not that rare. People who are in crisis situations, the brain slows down the time slices that it uses to measure things, so everything seems to go in slow motion. And they've shown experimentally how the body does that too. So it's this, time really is flexible, and it depends on the filter of the brain to make it seem like it's passing the way we think it is. Anyway, if you sit in meditation long enough, what happens is you pop out of the reality in which time is linear, and you pop into the eternal. And from there, you realize that nothing ever changes and nothing ever passes, that time is flowing within this immense changelessness that is compassionate, benevolent, all-knowing, all-experiencing, all-loving. And it's much more real than this world where everything seems to pass and everyone seems to be getting older, and in fact, everyone seems to exist. And the moment you jump out, you see that all we actually ever have is this tiny, it's like a line. If you have a plane called eternity, and then you have another plane, like two pieces of paper, right? A plane called eternity and a plane called time, and they intersect on a line. That line is the present moment. So if you can get your mind to be absolutely still, what happens is that time disappears and everything is gone and everything is present at the same exact moment, except it's over like that. There is no moment, because even that is always over. So Byron Katie says, even the past, even the present is now in the past. You know, it's all a figment of the imagination. I know this sounds, this is not like dinner party conversation that's going to make you super popular. But what happens is the reality of it bashes you in the consciousness so fast, so immensely, that there's this kind of explosion of awareness that goes, oh, and you realize the universe is coming into being on this vast canvas called now, but it's being brought into being every moment, every flash, boom, 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 boom. The apparent physical universe is being manifested by consciousness, boom, 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 which is working outside of time, but has created a system that is governed by entropy, where everything passes away. Now, why would consciousness do that? I thought to myself once. And this is what I currently think. I believe that the soul loves experience, loves new, wonderful things, loves the expression of emotion, loves the experience of being us, loves the experience of being Secretariat winning the Triple Crown, loves the experience of being a hawk soaring in the sky, loves the experience of being a jellyfish in the ocean. Consciousness is delighted in physical experience. And especially emotional experience is very, very intensely beautiful. But without time seeming to pass and this physical existence ending, nothing here would be nearly as poignant. And I also don't think that anything physical can be kept indefinitely because it's actually less real than eternity. Now, you guys asked me to talk about this. I'm like, oh boy, I think I just lost everyone. But someone asked me to talk about in fact, many people said nonlinear time. Let's talk about that. So what I'm saying is that from outside science, we find that time is flexible and malleable and dependent on the observer. And from inside science, we find that time is flexible and malleable and dependent on the observer. And actually, there is no place for consciousness in the physics of the West yet. It is a factor in physics. Everybody knows that it takes consciousness to manifest what appears to be matter out of a cloud of probabilities. But there's no like scientific understanding of what consciousness is, although a whole bunch of scientists got together and wrote a manifesto for a post-materialist science, where they say basically consciousness is the prime mover of the universe, and we've shown that scientifically, so let's start talking that way. Nobody's doing that yet, except in Asia, where they've been doing it for centuries and saying, yes, here's what is real. This vast consciousness, this vast reality that is outside time, creating this beautiful dance of a universe that seems to be made of different elements and different aspects, and that seems to be always coming into being and going and passing away, coming into being and passing away, for the sheer beauty and delight of it. They call it Leela in India, the play of consciousness with matter. And it's just for the sheer joy and exquisiteness of experience. And for that reason, time seems to exist and matter seems to exist. And if I haven't lost you all on this version of the gathering room, you can come back forever, because I'll never be this abstruse again. Okay, questions?
Questions, sorry.
Sorry, I'm bashing the computer here.
This is very high tech here.
Very high tech.
Okay, I have a lovely question from Anne, who's asking, pop into the eternal, interesting concept. So that means we can meet others who have passed over to the other side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually quite common for people who are sitting in meditation to have all kinds of experiences that we talked about, mystical experiences a couple of weeks ago. It's not considered to be the most important thing about meditation. The most important thing is to realize oneself as the eternal, and then realize everyone else is there too, like everyone. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of really normal, grounded, sane people who had Gandhi walk right up to them, or, just who had a conversation with Beethoven or whatever. Yeah, when you go out into the eternal, everything is available. You're outside of time, and yet all of time is available to you in one non-moment. It's kind of a cool thing.
Blowing my mind, girl.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing.
Alison asks, which book is this about Einstein for lay people?
I was reading dozens of books at the time. I don't remember where I read the one about, it was Google the bed, the bath, and the bus. I think I was reading a book called The Bed, the Bath, and the Bus about the three great breakthroughs. Descartes discovered or figured out algebra while he was in bed because he had a fever. Archimedes figured out the formula for the displacement of matter because he was taking a bath, and Einstein figured out relativity on a bus.
Just a warning though, sometimes when Martha says for lay people, she doesn't mean lay people the way that we mean lay people. She means super smart people.
Read Daniel Green's books. Yes. Daniel Green. The Elegant Universe is his most recent one. He's really good. He'll help you.
Excellent. Well, Anne says that we didn't lose them.
Good.
Lose them.
I know it sounds mind-blowing, but wait until the moment when you realize that you are the painter, and now is the canvas, and the universe is what you just made and are making again and again and again. And it's just this, like literally for 6 months, I just sat every morning for now going, like astonished with joy. It's amazing.
All right. I'm just moving on. I'm sorry. Should have given that a moment.
I may have been a tiny bit high on something. I don't know. Oak leaves.
Donna says, how do you shed the anxiety that nothing is permanent?
The only reason it would make you anxious that nothing's permanent is that it's not true. This book I'm writing now, called The Integrity Cleanse, is about this overwhelmingly powerful sense we have of what is true and what is not. And any kind of emotional disquiet is us splitting from what our soul sort of deeply knows is true. So when we think nothing is permanent, we get anxious, is because we think we've lost things because time passes. But that's only true in the stream of time, and we don't actually live in the stream of time. Our consciousness is from outside time and remains outside time. So time is happening within us. And if our consciousness is allied with light, and I think it is, this is why we do right into light, then all of time is laid out for us in eternity. And I think if we're dead, it's going to kind of be like panning for gold. That when time is immaterial, what's interesting is attention. You have all that ever happened. And while we're here, we focus on war and loss and death and the things that our biological brains want to focus on, death and birth, essentially. There you have it, Game of Thrones, sex and death. But consciousness is more interested in joy, beauty, love, and things like that. So when you're in eternity, all moments are present, but you don't have to pay equal attention to all of them. So you get to take the jewels out of the slag and play with them. This is my current theory.
I love it. I love it. Nadine asks, how does this apply in your life, or how can you use it?
To me, it does feel very, very weird and abstract from within our own culture. You've got to realize, though, that things that seem normal in our culture, if we were in another culture, would seem as weird as anything I'm telling you. We just have a cultural agreement that things are as they seem, okay? If you can get to the point where you leave culture and you get in touch with the sense of truth, which says time happens in me, not me in time, then what happens is a great peace descends. And I think it's not a peace of saying, oh, I'm never going to lose anything, although that is in there. But it's the peace of coming back into truth. Oh, I remember who I am. I'm outside time. I am the eternal. And so all of time is available for me. And so I can be at peace as this person gets sick. And as that thing passes, as I watch my body age, I can go, sure, yeah, for this thing, time is linear and things pass away. But every single thing I've ever experienced will always be available to my consciousness. And I don't mean maybe. I don't mean like memory. No. I mean actually available. Yeah. So if you can get that, then you walk through the day with a different kind of feeling. I can tell you.
Jessie asks, are there ways we can make time slow for us?
You can bungee jump. They did this experiment where they took, just to make sure that time really does slow down in emergency, they took these counters that were going very quickly, too quickly for people to see. And then they had these people hold these machines, and then they would make them bungee jump. And as they fell from a high height, suddenly their brains would start to see every number coming by. 0, 1, 2. When in fact it was going 0, like a gas, when you're filling your gas tank and the hundredths of the $100 meter just keeps going. But it would slow because they were in crisis. So that's one way. And a lot of people who've gone through an intense crisis come out changed because of that very thing. They've seen the impermanence and the malleableness of time. But the way to get it to happen, well, I've told you the 2 ways I know. You can either really go into physics until you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, it's really true. There is no time. Or you can sit down, use the techniques of meditators, and slow your mind deliberately until you get in touch with what feels like absolute truth. It's the source of all your awareness. So if it's not the truth, you couldn't exist. It's so much truer than the idea of a linear time, but I can't explain to you why. Einstein could. But if you feel it, It's very, very resonant and real. And then it matches the science of the outside as well. So there you have it.
It's great when that happens.
Yep.
Geordie's asking, so when you're doing work you're passionate about and time passes really slowly or feels like it is, this is the nonlinear time space?
Well, Einstein famously said, when asked to explain relativity, he said, when you're talking to someone you hate, 5 minutes can seem like hours. When you're talking to someone you're in love with, an hour can seem like 5 minutes. That's relativity. And he was joking, but he was also talking about the fact that consciousness stretches and moves time in a way that feels illusory to us because our clocks are always running at the same speed, apparently. But he knew that the sense of time being flexed by consciousness was actually real. So that's exactly right, what you just said.
Awesome. Sarah asks, do you know where I could find that print that is behind you guys?
This is something I painted when I was very, very worried. I thought we'd put it behind us just because, I don't know, the wall was very stark. But I have done a series of paintings through my life of different images of God. And this is Guanyin, the goddess of compassion, and she's on a lotus, which represents the unfolding of the heart, and she's the jewel at the heart of the lotus, which represents the consciousness you find after the layers of self open and fall away. And she's sitting in a matrix that I made out of the Buddhist 8-point star and a Jewish star and a Christian cross, but it also creates a 64-part tetrahedron, which is thought by some to be the structure of the vacuum. I don't think you were expecting that response.
We did just, we're in the process of getting prints of the cover of Diana herself, for those of you who are interested, the painting that Martha did that's on the cover of that book, and that's going to be available sometime in the next few months for purchase. So who knows, maybe we'll end up getting this one too, if you're willing.
If you like it.
Lots of questions about the integrity cleanse. You'll get it when you get it. The woman's a busy lady.
It's true.
Explains deja vu.
Yeah, it does, right? And it also explains premonitions, which are real. You know, if you don't think they're real, read about the guy who wrote a novel before the Titanic sank, like 4 years before it or something, where it was called the Wreck of the Titan, and he described almost exactly the ship that would be built called the Titanic, but in his book it was called the Titan, and it hit an iceberg at exactly the same point on the ship. It sank exactly the same way. The same number of people died. I mean, it was really something. He wrote this whole novel about the Titanic 4 years before it sank. I mean, that kind of stuff kind of shows you how and time actually folds around. The space-time continuum folds so that you can get a point that's now, and then 1,000 years can pass and the time will fold back and they'll almost touch each other. And I think maybe that's where premonitions leak through.
Love that.
I have a strange inner life.
Time is foldy.
Yeah, it's foldy.
Sarah Joyce says you can also slow time by being an actor forgetting lines on stage. 1 second equals 1,000 years.
Oh gosh. Oh, don't even get me started. I've had the actor do them a million times. You know, I do want to say, I mean, I've been so technical in all this, and you kind of have to get technical. You do kind of have to get technical to talk about time not existing as a reality. It's not in our culture yet, even though it's in our science. It's not in the culture yet. But what I really want to say from an emotional point of view is that you might want to not think of yourself as someone who is having 1,000 things slip away every moment. You know, everything sliding away, right? That's the feeling of entropy. Even though, by the way, nobody in physics knows why everything goes into entropy and not the other way. It's just how it is in this universe. But instead of thinking of yourself as someone who's always losing things, you might think of yourself as a spirit that has created an illusion of time in order to collect certain types of beautiful experience. Almost as if, like I sat down and painted that picture because it gave me an experience of calm and beauty and peace and the fascination of creativity. And I truly think that that's just a little bit of consciousness creating this. You are a vast cosmic artist that has embodied itself in this fragile, soon-to-be-gone animal for the experience of this intense beauty that the apparent physical experience of time brings with it. The exquisiteness of sunsets and sunrises, of birth and death, of beginnings and endings. It's all so beautiful. It exists for the same reason poetry exists. Emerson said beauty is its own excuse for being. This universe of time is so beautiful, but we never lose any of it. We are here to gather it all to us, like we gather together at the gathering room. And what we gather to us cannot be taken because we exist with time inside us, all of time inside us. Everything you've ever experienced is literally still happening. And when you're outside of time, you can pick whatever you want to pay attention to. And there's never anything too much because you'll have literally all the time there is. That's who we really are, people. Just take it away.
Wow.
See if it feels true in your heart and if it feels a little safer to go around as little meat self in this wonderful transient world. So we love you. And next week we'll be on a double screen, Australia and the US coming together to bring you the gathering room.
Gathering from everywhere.
And until then, tons of love from everywhere and every when. Mwah, 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 mwah.